Gotcha. So what's up, everybody? How y'all going? Hey, just so everybody knows, we're going to throw the waiver out there. I have not quit YouTube. I have went down a rabbit hole of learning, testing, doing all kinds of stuff with a UV printer. And I just haven't put out any videos much this week. So I'm hoping that this coming up week is going to be the week of videos. But I have been learning and practicing and testing and developing, and just it's been a mess. So I haven't quit. It's just been a little busy. That's all. But we'll be back to our regular throwing videos out left and right here shortly. I promise. I'm just having a lot going on lately. A lot going on.
Well, I've never been into the throwing videos out left and right. I've just been busy. No, I kind of in the same boat. I've been doing some testing on some things, had some issues with some equipment, have work stuff, have family stuff, but do have the back here, you see the LX2 from the laser pecker. That's their enclosed diode gantry laser. So got that set up and running today.
Yeah.
They sent, I believe it's got a 2040 and a 60 watt module that they have available for it. And then the 2 watt IR. They sent me the 20 and the 40 watt and the IR module to test. So it's going to take a little bit more. It's like I got to do twice the, we'll see. I mean, I'm at least going to do cut tests with the, with both modules in blue diode, and might do try to run like an LPI comparison or an Engrave comparison to see, if there's really that much difference between them. But other than that, I'm going to try to give it some rundown. Just started playing with it today, but I'm going to be trying to put some sneak preview things on Facebook. So dropped a quick reel out there just an hour ago doing like the very first Engrave, which was that. And
cool.
Came out all right. I will say the one of the first things that's impressed me about this thing is the camera switches into preview mode while it's engraving, and if that thing isn't high def, I mean, it looks crisp on that screen. So I was a little surprised at how clean that looks. I mean, it's just a top down and the module's in the way half the time anyway, but it does look really, really good on that camera. So we'll see. I got to dig into it. It does have like a smart assist, air assist on there. So you can turn it to auto or you can manually set it to level. I don't know in their software I got to look at their layer settings and such. It also has some funky fire suppression system. I hope not to test that.
Make sure you got a camera running where we can see what it does when it does activate.
But it's their kind of stab at making an enclosed diode laser somewhat user friendly, a little better safety features. Kind of everybody's been bringing their enclosed lasers out this past year and a half, 2 years, and so we're seeing this with laser peckers as well. So now I did run a quick cut test on Baltic birch, but I can't, the way this is done in their software, and I couldn't find a way to adjust the text setting, and it was not engraving dark enough. So I had to go in and pencil in the numbers, but we're cutting through it. This is with the 20 watt module on 3 millimeter Baltic birch, and it's cutting through at 7 millimeters a second at 90 and 100% power. And there's the backside. You can kind of see those others are just hanging on there. So not bad. Like I said, it's just the 20 watt module, not the 40.
I was gonna say, a 20 watt module is not really going to be doing any heavy cutting. It will cut.
Well, I mean, it'll 1/8 inch, and you got to remember Baltic birch plywood is
a
little more dense, a little more heavy, takes a little more to cut through than your typical, Luan and craft plywood. So, yeah. So
it ain't exactly basswood.
No, not by any means. So, yeah, that's on the bench back there. But I have been, as I've been saying, I'm trying to do some shop cleanup, and going to do a bit of a reorganization. And you're probably not going to see much because I hide it really well. But also, I did tear apart one bench today that I had built years ago for just holding some material. I think it's probably a good 10 plus years old because I think I built it when I got my original CO2, and I built a balsa wood rack that sat on top of it. So it just didn't fit with the rest. It was kind of a little, I mean, it served its purpose, but I've learned a little bit. I've learned a little bit since then on how to make it a little more sturdy, and I've been trying to make most of my benches roughly the same size and same height, so I can kind of lock them together, line them up, do that. And this one was just the oddball out. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, more of that to come as I try to get through cleaning some of this stuff, get to some reorganization, and eventually that back wall is probably going to start looking different because I've got all that wood leaning up against probably at least 3 outlets. So I'd like to have access to the walls for machines and such. So I got to use up some of it and move some of it around. But
we're not going to know how to act if you move that big pile of wood behind you, because that's always been like when you're in the shop, that's always been the backsplash.
Well,
so
the walnut pieces were supposed to be a dining room table. I don't think that project's ever going to happen just because our family needs are changing. And so I gotta come up with a new plan for some of that stuff. But
it's more likely to be a coffee table now.
Well, maybe something. I mean, we'll see. But yeah, it's going to thin down a little bit, and we'll get some, actually hopefully get some projects out with it. But yeah, just trying to take advantage of the spring weather here. It is actually there's leaves on the trees. We had 3 tulips bloom this week. The wild violets are out.
Dude, I've already got jalapeno peppers and I got tomatoes blooming.
Yeah, well, we're still in the don't uncover your garden beds just yet phase of spring because it hasn't been warm enough and you'll kill a bunch of stuff. I did get out to the local state park Friday afternoon. There's a bison herd there. And so Carl and I walked out there early.
Well, that's something we don't have here.
We drove out there. Yeah, they're just a few miles away. And so we ran out there quickly because it closes at like 6 p.m. So after work on Friday, I was like, hey, let's go check that out because I saw someone had posted there are three baby bison out there. So Carla had her long, what is it, 180 to 600 millimeter lens, and I had my iPhone. So yeah, spring is sprung. Hopefully we're out of the snow and the deep cold. And so hopefully that means I can do a little more out here with the doors open before it gets too hot and actually start getting outside and doing more with the second channel.
Well, the flying ants were swarming here today, so there was no opening the door. I was thankful that my door was closed because they're like little termite looking flying ants. They're not termites, but they're some kind of flying ants that have like really huge wings. And I bet there was a million of them in my like I was getting them down my shirt and in my hair and all that between the shop and the house today. So luckily they about lunch, I guess they all wound up back in the woods or something and they left. But it was pretty bad this morning here. So but yeah, I've already got jalapeno pepper about ready to pull that one off there and go ahead and eat it because my pepper plants aren't that big, but all of my roses are all bloomed out now. Most of the trees have their leaves. I got blueberries on my blueberry bushes. I got plenty of blooms on my tomatoes. It's coming along before you know it. My tomatoes are probably a good 16, 18 inches tall now. So I'm gonna try to do a video this week too of update on all that because it is starting to look much better here. The grass was dying though. We hadn't had any rain, and so I've been running around with a sprinkler trying to do what I could to keep the grass from like totally dying. But finally we got some rain yesterday and a little bit. I think got a little touch Friday and a decent amount yesterday. So the grass is actually starting to look a little more green again because it was crunchy. Like you can walk across the yard and it would crunch under your feet. So we needed some rain, something fierce.
So this part of the bison herd we've got out there, that's zoomed in. That's a little digital zoom on there because they were close but not super close. But you can see the grass is green, but the trees there in the background still a little bare.
Yeah, that don't look like it does here. It's a little different here right now.
But yeah, no, it's this is Minneopa State Park, and they've got a herd out there, and they've got an area you can drive through, and then they've got a fencing that you can kind of walk up towards it. But yeah, this is like 5 to 10 minutes from my house, which is cool.
Yeah, we're just thankful here that the yellow fog has lifted, because in the springtime here, we like when the wind blows, you can see the pollen. It's like a fog, like a yellow fog going across the hill.
Oh yeah,
it is thick. Especially when you live in a pine thicket, it is really bad.
I remember the times going down to Americus, Georgia, about this time of year, and seeing that, or my van, being
turn
a
yellow
color, yeah, just dirty with that pollen. So
yeah, it's we're just now getting through the bulk of that. There's still some stuff that's blooming, but it's nowhere near as bad as when the pine trees start. Yeah. But anyway, other than that, yeah, I did come up with some pretty cool projects this week. I've been doing a lot with my 3D printer too, my new Bamboo Labs P2S. You'll notice that my A1 is out here, and it's because me and the A1 had a bit of a disagreement for a couple of days. It didn't want to print. I wanted it to print. It didn't want to print. Like every time I try to print, it would just like come up off the bed, and it just didn't work. So I brought it out here, serviced it, checked everything, cleaned it, lubricated it, updated the firmware. Like I ran through everything on it and got it back going. I don't know exactly what was causing the problem, but doing a good deep service with, complete with reflash and firmware and all of that, I managed to get it back going. So it's been printing fine since I brought it out here, but since it was already here, and it seems to be working fine as long as I clean the build plate before I start printing, because it does get dusty in here some days, but I've been, cleaning, wiping down the build plate before I print. So far, I hadn't had any problems with the dust messing with it. It's easier for me to monitor it during the day too, with it being in here with me. Because like what was happening was I would start a print in the house, and the first 2 or 3 layers would work fine, and then somewhere along the way, like a corner of the print would come loose from the build plate, and then I would go in there, and it would look like a PETG Brillo pad just on the bed. You know what I mean? Just like every time the head would move, it's just like a Brillo pad sliding around. And I'm like, okay, this is not good. And so I had a total of 6 failed prints. And I was like, you know what? It's coming to the shop. That way I can service it. And so I brought it out here, cleaned it, serviced it, checked everything, updated it. And like I said, now it's running fine. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
So I've been using it for, like, I'll have some of my parts running on it or whatever. And then the P2S has been really my go-to. But I have been doing some stuff with the A1 as well. So.
It's the largest ball of twine, not yarn.
Yeah, Brady said
made a song about it.
She'll tell the kids about the bison herd, because she was trying to get them fired up about coming up to Minnesota, and they're like, well, what's in Minnesota? And so we were telling them the stuff that we knew about, and they just weren't impressed. Like they were like, no thanks. So
well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to do. It's just, but you got to know what people are into, because
yeah. But I spent a couple of days this past week. My wife, I don't know if y'all know or not, but we've got a 15, soon to be 16-year-old in the family, and so the youngest child didn't currently have a vehicle. And so me and Brandy, of course, we're not these parents that go out and spend just insane amounts of money on cars for our kids. We don't even spend insane amount of money on our cars. But so we had decided that, just like my first daughter, that this daughter was going to get a hand-me-down. Like, she's going to get the car that Brandy's driving now, which is a 2018 Hyundai Santa Fe. that we just put a motor in because the last motor bit the dirt. So it should be good to go for a while. And so Brandy had been shopping for different cars and had figured out what she wanted. And I did manage to get another silver Ford in the house. So there we go. We got us another Ford. It matches, as you can see there, it matches the F-150. But so now Brandy, and it doesn't look as policey as most of the Explorers could. So Brandy got her a new car. So I spent a couple of days going and negotiating that and going back and forth doing stuff and getting the windows tinted on it and all the different things that had to be done. So I've spent some time this week doing that. But I also had a couple of projects, and I want to show you guys this one because I was pretty proud of this one. Because I was trying to fix hers because she's not going to ever use the towing package that's on that thing, she says. So I was trying to fix her car up and make her a little towing pack cover. So I made one for myself in the process. Hers doesn't have the Clack Shack logo on it. Hers is just black. But I designed a 3D print file and just kind of used it to plug up the, where the trailer hitch goes. So because she's not going to use hers. I use mine quite frequently, but I still wanted a Clack Shack one to go in the back of it. So I've been doing just random jobs with 3D printers and, of course, the Eufy, which hopefully I'll have a little bit more knowledgeable video to put out here this coming up week because I have been running it continuously for the past couple of weeks pretty much. And so, yeah. Oh, and I made myself my latest 3D printing Eufy make project. This is a DIY 3D printed blank, of course, complete with recessed metal plate in the back of it. But it has the magnetic back, so you can magnetically attach it. But this is this is some name tags. I made myself a 3D print file and then took them over to the Eufy and customized them. And it started because Brandy wanted some for her work, and then I made this thing. This is pretty cool too for events and meet and greets and that kind of thing. So yeah, been playing around, having some fun this week. Fortunately, I haven't been like pressed for, content about machines and so forth that much. And I had the guy that did my window tint the other day gave me this and was like, "Hey man, I break these things all the time because they're so thin and just brittle." He's like, "Do you think there's any way you could make one that would hold up a little better? Because I pay like $6 for these and I break them a couple times a week." And I was like, "Okay, sure." Yeah. So I took this and inspired this design, which is a lot sturdier. And even went as far as putting his logo on it with the Eufy. So I got to get these things to him and let him try them out, see if he can break them. I don't think he's going to be able to break them because I did like a 25% infill. This is PETG. Like I got really creative with the settings and everything when I printed them. So I'm going to take these to him and see if these work. And if they do, then might be another product getting out there. Of course, nobody can play around with the Eufy without making cool Christmas ornaments. Another 3D printed blank that I made. So, yeah, been playing around a lot with a 3D printer, if you can't tell, and the Eufy. And some, bottle openers. Random projects. And like me and Steve were talking about this, a lot of this metal and stuff. You get mixed reviews on how well it stays on the metals. So I'm kind of testing some of these out to see. I'm probably going to play around with them with the UV laser too, because they look like they might be, UV laserable as well. So we're going to see about that. All kinds of cool projects this week, though.
Yeah, anything smooth and shiny tends to be more problematic. So that's the thing where you want to be careful of, and do some more testing and durability testing on those. So, because I've had some like straight stainless steel cups and some other sublimation items where it looks great until you handle it a bit and you wash it, and all of a sudden it just starts flaking off. And
yeah,
so it's good to test any of those things on your own products before you offer them up to people, because nothing worse than offering something out to people and then they don't like it because falls apart.
Yep. Nanya Business says, hi, I'm new to all this. I'm interested in deep engraving on metal using a MOPA laser. I'm drawn to the use of color. What laser would you recommend? Well, first of all, contrary to most marketing people from most any laser company that you can talk to, you can do color engraving, but if you think that you're going to be able to say, I'm going to make this letter blue and you're going to get blue every time, you're going to be disappointed. You can get blue, but it's going to take lots and lots of testing. And then the next day when you come in your shop, if the ambient temperature is different, or if the wind's blowing different, or if the air conditioner's on versus it's not, you're going to get a different color. It's just, it is a chemical process that results from the heating of the metal. And basically it causes corrosion. It's not corrosion, but it's so that you'll understand exactly. It forms a layer of material on there that has a tint to it, has a tinge to it. And depending on the temperature that you get the metal to is going to depend on the color. So it all hinges on how hot it gets. And you can't always control that. Thicker material is going to be harder to get done. Thinner material is going to be easier. But if you try running the thicker material settings on a thinner material, you're going to bend it. Like it is a process. So if you're thinking that you're going to just get it and be able to throw something under it and make colors, get yourself a Eufy mate if you want color, because lasers it's what is it you called it? Some kind of, it's witchcraft trying to get the colors. Ain't that what the term that you used before? So what's your take on it?
Yeah, no, and also depending on what you want to do, if you're wanting to do depth and color, that's not going to jive well together. So it's it's going to be better to do your engraving and then follow it up with a UV printer or something, and or be okay with a more artistic rendition of whatever you're getting. It's not to say you can't get some consistency as long as you can control those variables. You know, the same material, same compound that they've done to develop it, same temperature. The laser over time will heat up.
Yeah, even the difference in the size of the graphic. Like if it's a graphic that's broken into 3 or 4 pieces, one piece is like 2 millimeters by 2 millimeters, and the other piece is 10 millimeters by 10 millimeters. You're more than likely going to get different colors on those 2 engravings, even though you're running the same power and speed, because one of them is going to generate and keep more heat than the other.
Well, and the card itself will heat up over time. I've had that where I'm like, okay, I got
I got blue going
on.
I
had my numbers dialed in, but as I go, the blank is heating up and then it's changing the result. So it's a frustrating process if you're going for like accurate, consistent colors. But I mean,
if you just want like a tie-dyed look, you can do that. I mean,
to do it, a MOPA is your best chance at it. It gives you the most control over frequency and pulse and all that. But just be aware that there is a lot of marketing hype with it, and there's a lot of trial and error and needing to be able to control all those variables to get any sort of consistency.
Yeah, and another thing to consider too is the blanks. When you start talking about metal blanks, those are going to be inherently more expensive than if it's a piece of wood or a piece of acrylic or something like that. Typically speaking, you're going to spend more money, and you're not going to be able to just like, get rid of them as easy. So it's a thing. But I know a lot of the companies that we work with, they all like talk about how you can do color. You can, and they're not lying. You can, but they do kind of make you think it's easier than it really is. I mean, nobody really goes into it and says, yes, I made this picture of this blue bird, and then show you the 15 times that they tried and couldn't get him blue because he was green, yellow, red, purple, and every other color on the rainbow.
Okay.
And I say this because I have tried, I have done it, and I've gotten colors. But that was supposed to have been a bluebird up there, and it was not blue because, like Steve said, this material heats up, cools off, and your settings change when that happens. So it's wild.
So Papa Ragu's asking, how long does it take for the Eufy cleaning cartridge to fill up? Are they running behind on fulfilling orders of them and the ink? So that's going to be dependent on how you utilize your printer. It has a maintenance cycle that if it hasn't been used within 24 hours, it wants to go into this moisturizing mode, and that's to prevent the ink from clogging up in the head and protect the head, because that is a $600 item. If you clog it up and have to replace it, it's not cheap. That's the whole purpose of this kind of self-maintaining system that does end up utilizing this cleaning solution and ink. So the worst thing you can do is print one thing every other day, because it's going to go into that moisturizing mode in between those days. It's going to flush some ink. It's going to use some cleaning cartridge. It's going to fill up that cartridge pretty quick. If you print something every day, it won't go into that maintenance mode. But you kind of want to make sure that you're running enough ink through it. I've done it to where if I know I'm going to be printing something a couple days later, I'll just run like a coaster or a quick test card just to keep it kind of in its status, but some things moving through it. Otherwise, you're best to let it go into that mode and then kind of stock up your jobs that you're going to do, kind of run them all in a bulk, and maybe once a week you run print jobs. It just kind of depends on the volume you get and the timing of it. Because if you print something every other day, it goes in that maintenance mode, you could fill that thing up in a few weeks. If you space them out, it could be a matter of a month or two, or maybe more, just depending on how often you let it go into that cycle. I don't know how many cycles it takes to fill up that cleaning cartridge. And the thing is, from where they were at when they first sent us our kind of pre-production units to where they are now, they've kind of been tweaking the maintenance schedules and the amount of ink used for various things. So kind of some of the stuff we thought about early on has changed a little bit. So it's kind of hard to say, and it's really dependent on how you're using it. But my recommendation again is either do something every day or stockpile them up and do them in mass and let it sit a little bit longer, and that will extend the life of that cartridge.
Well, according to the logs here on mine this month, which I've only been using it since like the 13th this month. Let's see. We'll go back to March. Yeah, see, I had a couple of weeks here. I've used 61. I guess is that milliliters, maybe? Yeah, milliliters. Mm-hmm. 60. I used 61 milliliters of cleaning solution and 18 in March. And then in April, I've used, wait a minute. Did it go to April? Hang on. Go to April. Well, the numbers didn't populate again. Hang on, I know I saw some numbers here a minute ago. 61 and 18 in March. Yeah, the numbers ain't populating back again now, but yeah, it uses like Steve said, once it goes into that cleaning cycle or whatever, it kind of goes dormant, so it's not using anything. But like Steve said, if you wake it up every couple of days, it's gonna do it more often. And so that's what I've been trying to do. Like Steve said, if I fire it up, I want to do a bunch of stuff, and then I'm going to turn around and like not do anything for a few days. That way it's not cleaning and printing. I mean, it may stay shut down for a solid week, and then I may fire it up and just run it all day for one day and then let it go back into its hibernation mode or sleep mode or whatever you want to call it, because it does that deep clean after so many days. And here's where it kind of shows you what it does here. So like you can see right here, it says Monday, it did an ink injection for a deep clean, auto moisturizing injection for a deep clean, but it just depends on how much you've used it. And like you can see where it had to prime it. I mean, it's a bit of a maintenance thing, but the difference is, it's kind of like what Steve was saying though, is you can buy the machines that don't do this, But if you mess around and let's say you get busy and you forget to do a cleaning cycle on it like you're supposed to, you've just cost yourself $600-700 for heads, maybe even more if you've got a multi-head machine. So there are advantages to it doing it itself, but it does come as a cost. I mean, there's a cost associated with it because it's doing it whether you want it to or not. So me personally, I would rather it cost me a little more money and kind of have it as an insurance policy as opposed to me having to remember to do it. So, but this is the first UV printer I've ever had, so I know absolutely nothing about doing it myself. So I like the fact that it does it on its own. So it doesn't need me to go over there and wipe its nose every day. So I like that because I've watched some videos of other people with other machines and they've got a glove up and put on a respirator and they're in there with Q-tips and cleaning swabs and some kind of solution in a spray bottle that you can't breathe. And I spent enough time doing hazmat work. I really don't want to do it now. You know what I mean? I would rather like this with this machine. I would rather it just do those things itself and then let me just do the fun stuff like printing these things and not have to worry about that because I've already figured out now, as long as I don't go stupid with the raised print, because to me, and some people might get mad about me saying this, but to me, the raised print, like the seriously exaggerated raised print, I'm not talking about just a little bit, but I'm talking about like the really tall raised print. It's kind of like the color on metal with a MOPA. Why? You know what I mean? How are you going to make your money back on that? Because the time and the ink that it takes, I just don't see. It's cool if you want to do it, but I don't see it being how you make money with your machine. I think like things like this, the flat printing on multiple materials is how you make money with your machine. Minimum amount of material, minimum amount of time, maximum amount of profit. So, and I can't see how I could make money doing these raised prints. Not in my area anyway, unless it's somebody that wants it for a very specific purpose. Then maybe so. But I've got some ideas for some events and stuff that are coming up. I'm probably going to wind up taking the Eufy with me to the Peach Jam this year. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I like it so far. Like I said, only one I've ever had. So I'm not very well versed in UV printing, but I do like it so far.
Yeah. As far as them getting the orders out of the ink, they did have a couple batches of problem ink, and so they're getting caught up, and I feel like we're kind of on the cusp of it being pretty readily available and having a full 12-month shelf life. I know there's been a lot of people with concerns about it getting ink that's going to expire soon, and the truth of it is everybody's different, but I think you first get this printer and it's kind of like you're seeing Clack do. You're printing on everything. And so you're gonna run through that first set of cartridges pretty fast, especially if you're playing around with the raised ink or the raised, doing some artistic ones like that. You'll go through it fast, and then you'll kind of settle into a groove where you can kind of better estimate your ink usage. And I think the big thing to remember here too is you can't compare this as kind of a what I would call prosumer device with industrial units. You can't compare the ink costs of an open well fillable by bottle kind of thing that's meant for an industrial environment like Clack was just describing, with something that can be used maybe not on your kitchen table, but in a craft room that's vented. It's just different scale, and they're trying to make it a little safer and more user friendly for the home hobbyist, small business user, and not targeting the people who are going to be printing 24/7 off of it. So I think it's a little bit of some expectation management there on what this device is. So
if you've got employees that are running your machines all day and they're printing 8 hours a day, then you don't need this. You need a commercial machine. I think this was never intended to replace those machines. This is This is for the people like me and you who we do customization, but we don't necessarily do UV printing every day. You know what I mean? But we want to have that capability with our business.
Yep. So just I mean, kind of like with when you have any of our lasers, you got to kind of have some realistic expectations on it as far as what it's meant to do, and what it's geared to do. So
yeah.
But that being said, both of us, I did get restocked on ink and got my printer up and running this week again. So if you have questions about it, if you have curiosities about it, with both of us having them, hit up some comments. I put a post out in the laser engraving community group this week, just saying, hey, here's something I'm playing with. I should have brought that out there. I did a sticker, put it on a cup as part of my testing the new ink and setup. Plus, wanted to make sure my sticker blanks were still, or the sheets were still good. And then I also want to test the durability of that, because that same cup I had printed on with the printer, and over a couple of washings and just handling that, it had mostly chipped off. So I want to see how the actual DTF sticker works in comparison. So if you have questions, comments about those, hit us up. So we'll see if we can fit it into either here or maybe in one of our videos and such. So
yeah, like I said, I'm gonna try to get a video this week of another one of some of the things that I've done with the Eufy and the pros and cons and things that I've figured out about it. But I have decided that the raised, like the 3-dimensional raised stuff, it's cool, but it's not from a business standpoint. You're not, people aren't going to pay you the extra money for that, in my opinion, to make it worthwhile. It's just one of those things. You're just like, hey, look what I can do. And then once you've done it, it's like, okay, I did it now. But I did do a base for a baseball team. And I would show it to you guys, but I don't know if the guy's gotten it yet. She's picked it up, but I'm going to give it a little while, make sure that it's been presented to the person who's getting it before I show it, just in case. But it turned out really, really nice. Now, I did do the raised print on it, but after the job was over with, seeing the amount of materials that it consumed and the minute difference that it made in the design, I wouldn't have done it again. If somebody called tomorrow and ordered a bunch of them, I would not reproduce that effect. I mean, it was cool. I did it, but it's cost effective. It was not. But I will tell you, I can show you this one because this one ain't got anything on it. But I made my own blanks. So this is a piece of birch. This is a piece of birch plywood, and I cut them out on the CNC and did a round over and all that. And I took the UV printer and printed directly on the plywood and did basically like a little thank you thing for Coach. And then I put a hanger on the back of it and all that, and was able to fetch $60 for it. So not a bad product. I mean, it wasn't a bad, hour or two's work. It took me longer to wait on the 3 coats of 2X to dry than it did to do the whole other operation. That was the longest part. And this is something, if you're not doing this, that I've learned also. When I was doing the one blank, I did 2. That's so that if I screwed up, I didn't have to wait that whole time for the other one to dry. So I've got an extra one in case somebody wants it now.
I don't know if that's as cool as a clack on a coaster, though.
Well, I ain't through yet, because there may or may not be a Steve coming. But this is the mock-up that I did, and this is tiny. But when people say, hey, can you make something like this, and they send me their what they think they want, I do a mock-up, and this is a bunch of chimpanzees. Those aren't even real kids. Those are like chimps. I just had AI make me a picture.
Hey, those are someone's kids.
I just had AI create me a picture of some chimpanzees wearing baseball uniforms. But this is the design that I did. This is the basic design, but I, of course, customized it with the kids. All the players' names wound up going on the sides over here, like 4 on one side and on the other, and had them here, and then this design basic. But there was, of course, a picture of the team and the coaches and all that. So I sent her this with nothing for scale, because you can I didn't want to print out a whole big one, so I did 1/4-inch ply and just made a small mock-up of it, just to get her to say, yes, that's what I want, that design with this text. And like I said, $60. I quoted it for $60, and she said, yes, sir. How do I pay you? And so and picked it up and loved it. So there we go. But another project that I've been able to do with it. So I've done some paying stuff with it this week.
Yeah, Blake from Great Lakes Laser Supply stopping in, and we'll be meeting up with him at the Next Level Maker Conference in Texas here end of August. So looking forward to that.
I'll be the guy in orange.
I will not be in orange. I think tickets are at full price now. Hopefully gas and travel doesn't kill us all getting there, but looking forward to spending a few days with people there and catching up to some of you I only see online a few times. So good to see you here tonight, Blake.
Yep.
Some comments about various 3D printers, and this one, because I know Joe Cree was asking about the thoughts on the Snapmaker, and Santa's saying he's waiting on reviews for the FlashForge Creator 5. So yeah, a lot of multi-head 3D printers out there. FlashForge, they've kind of their thing is kind of they like to be the budget option. I've got their 85X, and that's still working well. I've got it in my lineup. I use it a lot for TPU because it works with that so well, a lot easier than dealing with the Bamboos will do it, but they don't like running it through the AMS that well. So the FlashForge I use for that. But they have their Creator 5 on kind of pre-sale, a little bit cheaper than the Snapmaker, but the problem with that is no one has seen it in action in like non-marketing shops. So
are you saying Bamboo lied to me?
No, it'll do it. You just can't run it through the AMS. They don't recommend running it through the AMS.
This says 4 AMS.
Well, okay, they do have that variety, but most people I've heard say they still run it through the straight through the port instead of.
Yeah, I'm probably, since it says on there specifically, because that's when I bought it. It said 4 AMS. I was like, I'll try it, but yeah, I've heard everybody say that it doesn't run through an AMS, but I got this machine that I can side spool as well as the other one. So, but yeah, but I don't know if this is a new thing or what, but I did get some in white.
But yeah, the multi-head 3D printers are cool. Would love to play with the one. It's really the best thing for people wanting to do the multi-print things because it'll be faster and it won't waste so much purging in between each one. But I personally like the multicolor that you assemble. So this is another one that I did this week, a little Spock. and these will, this is not printed in place multicolor. Each color is printed separately, and then they basically just interlock together. So I've been enjoying that, but I would love to play with one to see. There are times when I like to mess around with some print in place multicolor stuff. So I'm also watching that FlashForge Creator 5 to see how it goes. But
I got a random email about that Creator 5, but I'm not sure it's legit. So we don't know. I don't know. It looked good, but we'll see.
Maui WH said, went to an X-Tool event in California Saturday. They have a new laser coming out. It's also a printer. I know they.
Yeah, you know what it is because we talked about it.
They have their M1 Ultra, and I did a review on that one, and it has a laser head, and then it can also swap out with a printer. In typical X-Tool fashion, I wouldn't be surprised that they're updating that.
Yeah,
that one. Funny thing, they have a MakerFest tour going around the country to different spots. And there is one stop listed at being at the Best Buy headquarters here in Bloomington, Minnesota. It's only about an hour away from me. And so I reached out to one of my contacts at X-Tool just asking more information about that specific event, saying, hey, I'm curious about it. Is it open to the public? What's it about? I might try to plan to go to it. And she thought I was talking about the one in LA this Saturday. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not going to be there. That's a little further than an hour away. But yeah, they are making a tour around, kind of showing off some things. So you can check their website for those stops. As I find out more about the one here in Bloomington, I think it's a Wednesday. I think it's June 10th, and they say it's at the Best Buy headquarters. So again, I'm trying to find out what is it, since they're advertising it on their social media, I'm assuming it's open to the public. But if I find out more and it sounds like something interesting, then if I'll be at that, I'll definitely let everybody know in case you want to meet up there as well. So,
well, I looked at that list that you sent me, and I didn't see anywhere in Alabama. So
yeah.
I guess I'm out of luck.
Yeah. Now it's not everywhere, but we'll see.
Norbert's asking, what does Brandy think of the raised UV ink for personalization of products at craft fairs? She thinks the UV printer is cool. We both agree on that, but I think she's kind of on the same boat with me as the bang for the buck as far as the raised print. That's going to probably need to be like something very specific that somebody doesn't mind paying extra for, because like I said, it takes longer to do and it uses more consumables. So me personally, I'm not going to be leaning real heavy in the raised print. Now, if you do transparencies, like I do transparent PNGs with a lot of my stuff, like this Clack Shack logo is a transparent PNG. It's actually raised a little bit. Like you can feel it because it's printed over the material. And you could print that a little thicker and make it raised and stand up. But, you know, you got to think too, what purpose is it going to be? So, I mean, it's one of those things. I don't see me leaning into that heavy to make my money. I'm going to try to make my money off of B2B stuff. And because businesses are always wanting like stuff like this, like just these are awesome. Me and Steve have both been to events where they hand you these little things with your name on them and all that, or like you go to an event and you know you don't have a name tag or whatever. Those things, especially the first impression stuff with name tags and event placards and so forth, I think those will be a pretty good hit at some of my, because like my merchants meeting that I go to and so forth like that, because I can customize a name tag to have pretty much anything they want on it. And that's using 3D printed blanks. And I can print them almost any color TPU they can think of. So I think there's some, or not TPU, PETG, I mean. I think there's some variety in that. I think that's where I'm going to wind up leaning, is more business to business stuff, because it pays better anyway. You're not fighting for the cheapest thing at the craft fair. So.
EMT Dave says, tried doing some mirrors on my P2S. When it gets to a point to the right and up, it acts like it's bumping into something. It's not. Any suggestions on where to look? This might be one that a little more context or actually seeing it. It's hard to say. Like, does the head stop? Does it grind?
I'm guessing he means the X Tool P2F.
Yeah, that's what I was. My guess was as well, but no, I don't know.
It acts like it's bumping into something. Unless you got like a, I don't have a P2S. I got the P2. But unless you've got like a drag chain or something that's hanging, I mean, I can't think of what it would be. I mean, some kind of connection. Kevin Jensen says, I'm struggling with what to charge for 3D printed items. Do you guys have any rules of thumb for pricing? Well, my basic rule of thumb is I don't turn on a machine for less than $15. Like, seriously. And maybe that's wrong of me, but unless you're ordering 100 of something, you're not going to get me much down below $15. Unless it's a business. Like I do have, like my friend May, there are things that I do for her that I do cheaper, but it's because she orders from me multiple times a year, and it's never just one. Like it'll be, 100 of whatever. And so I will give her a per unit price cheaper. But typically speaking, if it's like I'm making $15 if I turn a laser on for you. So whether it's one or whether it's five, it goes from there. So a lot of times I don't take jobs if I know I can't make money and give them a fair price. I just don't take it, because like I've got to do graphic work. I've got to set it up. That's a squirrely little thing, and it may be different in your area too. If there's 10 people on your street that do what you do, your pricing may be more competitive than like with mine. I got people driving for 45 minutes away to get me to laser engrave something because there's nobody else that they can find on the internet that does it. So I can charge more than if I had 10 competitors around me, you know?
Yeah, I think that's just it. If you're printing out your own items that you've designed and made, you can kind of set the pricing to some degree as long as it's not something everybody else is already doing. And if it is, then you kind of have to just make sure it's worth your time. Now, the nice thing with most 3D printers is you're not having to monitor them as proactively as you are a laser or a CNC machine. It's not to say you should just ignore them.
It's not saying that's the best way to do it,
but they're not as they're a little bit easier to kind of like set up, let them run, and if they run for 2-3 hours, you're not kind of constantly monitoring it too much, especially more of the modern ones that have some of the detection for spool run out, or a lot of times they'll have the AI detection for if it's come off the plate or it doesn't work all the time. Both of us have run into that, but so yeah, it's kind of you can't really market it on a time basis because no one's going to pay the $60 an hour that you might want to shop rate on 3D prints. So I guess that's a tough thing. I don't do a lot of selling other things that people do. It's more of add-ons to other stuff that I'm doing. And then I, enjoy doing little tchotchke things myself. So when it's a kind of an added into something else, it's a feature that, it's just kind of I'll often print out in bulk or it's something that I'm designed around something. So I'll have a couple on hand that they can just kind of be run in the slow times. I'm not basing it off of this is the only thing I'm doing. So it's a tough one. I think it's because they've become so prevalent. It's everybody knows someone with a printer that might do it for cheap or free. So
yeah, it's we went to an event, was it last weekend 4, and there were 4 booths doing hat patches that either had hat patches already made or hats already put together or whatever, but they were laser engraved. But there were about 5 different booths that were selling 3D printed stuff, whether it be just your little dragons and the little fidget things, and then they had like some of the vases and it was some cool 3D prints. But there were about 5 booths that's what they were selling. But it wasn't like custom things per se. It was like you said, it was just the trinkets, the gift shop specials. Those, I think, depending on what market you're in, if that's the stuff that you're doing, it's going to be a lot more competitive than if you're doing stuff like what I did with this, where this guy's like, hey, could you take this thing keeps breaking. These are $6 a piece, and I keep breaking a couple of them a week. Could you make something that would hold up better? And I'm like, I don't know. If you'll give me one of those to go by and give me because the little rubber piece, he buys those by the bag. And it's like, if you give me one of those to take and use as a go by and look at and give me the little rubber thing, I'll see if I can design it. And so I designed it. And in my opinion, it's much stronger. It feels like it's 2 or 3 times stronger than this one. So I'm going to give it to him and let him try it. If he likes it, guess what? He's going to come back and he's going to go, hey, how much for 10 of these? How much for 15 of these? He may start selling them himself. I don't know. But that's the kind of stuff that I like. I like selling things that nobody else has, you know what I mean? And having the files for it. So that's where I'm a little different. I don't do the dragons, and I don't even do the little bobblehead things that Steve likes, because that's just not my thing. Steve likes it. It's fun. They're cool. They are neat. That's just not my thing. I'm more functional than artistic, I guess, with my 3D prints. So but yeah, it's a tough world. Like I said, it's going to depend on how many people around you are doing it and what genre your products fall into. Are you doing artistic things, functional? Are you making like cup holder adapters for cars? I mean, what are you? Depends on what you're making. Oh, and my trailer hitch covers that I did too. I should have brought one of them in here to show you guys, but I may have I broke that one because I had one. But it's a slippery slope. Pricing's a pain. Because if you price too high, you're not going to get any work. If you price too low, you're never going to get caught up. If you ever find yourself not able to catch up, you're not charging enough. Raise your prices until it slows down into a manageable amount.
Rob Fight's asking, any suggestions on building a riser for the Alien Cell X1?
I think they're coming out with one.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything on theirs. I know they've hinted at it. I have to look at that one. But I'll be honest, a lot of times my risers are literally 2x4s.
Yeah, it feels like you could build a frame under it, like a false bottom, or I think what's his name over HTL or whatever. He did he's got his where it like slides out on a drawer, which makes me nervous because I'm like, I've seen a lot of those drawers. You get too much weight out there on them and just pow. But you could make a false bottom. You could do lots of things with it. I don't personally. What I've been using it for, I don't need a riser for it, but it's because I have Enclosure Zilla over here with 12 inches of removable bed. If I was going to build one for it, of course, it would probably be like a version of Enclosure Zilla here with the powered Z-axis on it to where I could raise it up and down manually. But
sometimes just 4 soup cans on the feet does the trick.
4 cans of stain.
So, hopefully they'll be coming out with theirs, but I know, there's also the extra expense with that and such. But like I say, you can overthink it, you can make it complicated, or you can start with something simple, see how much you use it, and then kind of tweak it from there. So I would look at building up some rails, just from, blocked up some wood or plywood sides or something that is, think of prototyping it first. see what works and what doesn't, and then maybe design something a little more permanent.
I mean, you could, for all practical purposes, use one of those little metal racks to where you could raise it up and set it on it. But it's not going to be real. It's not going to be real easy to use. I would probably rather to go with a false bottom and come up with some way of adjusting the bottom than raising and lowering the machine, because that's going to be complicated. But yeah. Not a bridge I've crossed yet.
Yeah. Norbert's saying, Ventari, thank you for your YouTube video on replacing a laser tube and getting it set. I uninstalled the tube before moving the mom port 80 laser. Your video helped me reinstall it easier. Good video. That one's older. That was what, 6 years ago now, maybe, or at least 5. And the SPT had worked with me on that one, and there's some it can be intimidating, but it's not. It doesn't have to be. And so I tried to make sure that was a good walkthrough. So I'm glad it was some helpful for you.
I see where somebody's answering EMT Dave's question, but I can't find the question, so I don't know. Maybe we got that. Maybe somebody got that handled.
I'm trying to.
You Boofer is saying that the problem is the 3D market is so flooded, and unless you can find something that's unique, it's difficult to get makers to establish themselves. This is true in any kind of business. I mean, once you get established too, you get a lot more flexibility of pricing because, one, you have more volume of jobs coming in, so you can afford to price yourself up until it gets a little, people start getting a little resistant. You can afford to do it. You can't when you're first starting out. You're just taking what you can get. You're trying to get repeat customers. You're trying to get the word out there. Starting out, you're typically going to be way off key with your pricing, but you're not going to be able to get the same prices as the guy down the street that's been doing it for 2 or 3 years and has reputation. Because street cred in the business world, street cred will get you business. Because people will pay me more than they will even Klein. People will pay me more than they will Klein to do a job because they've heard of me. They've heard other people talk about using me as a business. And so brand recognition goes a long way. If you don't believe me, ask Nike or Harley Davidson or John Deere. Brand recognition will get it to where you can charge a little more for your product because people are like, okay, that's a brand that I trust. And so they'll pay you a little more. And it takes a while. Like I said, I started doing laser work, and engraving and personalized stuff back in, was it 2021? And so it's been a slow crawl. And I know a lot of these videos, people will tell you how you can make, $20,000 at a craft fair on the weekend and stuff like that. Guys, don't believe everything you read in the thumbnail. I mean, can you? Yes. If you've been doing it for 20 years and you've got, commercial resources that are established, you probably could. But your first year of doing craft events, expect to not make a whole lot of money. Be happy when you come home and you've got more money in your pocket than you spent to get there. Because my first 2 or 3 events, it cost me to go to them. Like, and there are still some small events that I do that I lose money on because they want like a $350 sponsorship to have a booth. And then you get there and like 14 people show up. And it's like, I just donated $350 to you because those 14 people, none of them wanted what I had, So don't let people give you unrealistic expectations. I mean, just having the right machine is not the only variable to having a successful business. That's one variable, but it is not the only thing. I mean, there's so much to it. And sometimes, like I said, I see them too. I can't sell enough of these, make $10,000 in a weekend. I mean, I see that sometimes it's true for them, but it might not be for you. I mean, because I'll tell people all the time, people ask me about, running a business and they're like, well, hey, is it possible for me to make what I make working in my shop? And my answer is, I mean, yeah, in my opinion, anything's possible, but are you willing to do what it's going to take to do it? That's the question. I mean, do you have the resources? Do you have the know-how, the knowledge, the dedication? I mean, those are the questions that nobody wants to mention when they're telling you how much money they made and how easy it was. So
Sharon's asking, Steve, as the glue guy, what glue would you suggest for non-AMS file printed in PLA? For PLA, super glue actually works very well. CA glue. You might want to get a thicker, even like the gel kind, so it doesn't run with your parts. Otherwise, there's also a thing called 3D Gloop. It's a specific PLA type glue that some people like. It's a little more like a contact cement where you put it on both sides and then push it together. But I've just used CA glue for most of my 3D prints, and it just a little bit goes a long way. You just want to make sure it doesn't run and leak out, out the edges and such. But if you want to look into that, I haven't used the other stuff, but I've heard other people use it. Like I say, it's more like a contact cement, so it's not going to be runny. So there are some case uses for that as well, but your typical CA glue should be all you need.
You and the glues, man, about all these. I tell you what, I bet your news feed's just full of glue videos. Kevin says he's got a Lightburn question. Building a jig for absolute coordinates, do I need to do all 4 corners? It's a jig for cork coasters for car cup holders. Thanks. 4 corners. I don't do the whole coordinates thing. I mean, if you want to do it that way, that works, I guess, as long as you get those 4 corners lined up. I use fixed jigs. The jig index is off of a physical point inside the machine. If you're doing the whole bullseye thing and then line it up with yeah, it works, but to me, it just takes longer. I like physical reference points that don't move. The machine is, as long as the machine is truly homing accurately and its steps are calibrated, it should never be off. So I don't do them that way. As far as the coordinates and the corners and all, I've never done them that way. That's just not, I don't I don't see a need in it, to be honest with you. If you've got a machine that you can use a physical reference point, I don't do them that way. And I've got plenty of videos on how I do my jigs, but I do not do the bullseyes like I know a lot of people do. I'm not knocking it. 2 points of reference will work, but then what happens after that if it gets bumped or if you move it trying to unload it or load it? So, have you ever done one of the ones with the bullseyes? I'm assuming that's what he's talking about.
You mean like print and cut?
Yeah, well, they put the bullseyes or the X's in the corners or whatever.
I don't mess around with that. Really, that would be useful if you're actually printing something on another device and then bringing it over, versus just dropping material into. If you're using an alignment jig, just making sure that it locks into probably 2 points on the laser so it stays true is fine, and then you set up your. You do your engraving or your cut once, save that file as a template, and then you just drop everything in relative to that template, and you should be good.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, if you were making a file on a different machine, like you said, the print and cut method, yeah, I get that because you don't have a physical reference because it's 2 different machines. But I do like I said, I do. My jigs look a lot different.
Glenn is asking, good evening, guys. Can you use swap at X-Tool rotary to use on an Atom Stack A24? And is there other heads you can direct swap in to give options? I've used so when the RA2 originally came out, they specifically provided adapters for other lasers such as Atom Stack. And so when I initially got that one, I did test it on, an Atom Stack, even a generic laser. I tested on like 3 or 4 different lasers. And so, yeah, you can use it on that as long as you've got the right cable to make the connections right, and that, you don't need to like reverse pins or something. And that's usually the bulk of all it is. There's 4 pins to most of these, and
the 2
power and signal. So they just need to line up right, and then you need to be able to calibrate it within whatever software you're using. You need to be able to adjust. Basically, it's steps per rotation or steps per millimeter, like they like to call it, and that will calibrate it so that it turns right. So, but as far as different heads, I don't know about that. If you're talking about on the rotary, you can like 3D print different, jaws and adapters and such, but the actual head itself, I think, is pretty much stationary. I mean, the RA3 has kind of the magnetic one that could swap in and out with more for packaging and breakdown, but yeah, if you're talking about the head on the rotary, it's kind of, it is what it is. You can make adjustments that bolt onto the existing one, but I don't know that you'd swap it out too much.
Yeah, I've never tried to take the head off of a chuck, so I don't on one of them. I don't know. Don't know. Yeah, Kevin said he was talking about doing the bullseye approach, but yeah, that's not something I do with that. Like Steve said, if you were doing it, like if you were printing something on one machine and then bringing it into another, then yes, you could do it as a reference point so that you have known references on that material or whatever. But if you're using a machine to batch out like business cards or bottle openers or whatever, that's not something I would do. Greg says there's going to be a Glueholics Anonymous meeting at the end of the live stream. Oh.
Tony's asking, did I see the YouTube vid of the F-14 RC jet? I've seen a variety of ones. As a matter of fact, some of the guys at my club have more money than sense and have brought down some pretty high-end, expensive jets as well. I don't know that we have had an F-14, but 15 years ago, I actually built one and flew it myself. And there is video evidence of this. It's not quite as impressive as, say, that one.
Mm.
Let's see here. Let's see if I can at least share a little bit of it here. See how bad this is going to be. Let's make that a little bit bigger. Bloop. So there we go. There's a very grainy me 15 plus years ago.
Record that in 320i?
I used a potato. No, this is back when I was actually recording on DV tapes and I had to use a converter. Now, this is one of the sketchiest launches I've ever had. It almost...
Oh, you almost messed up.
Twice. But yeah, this one actually had a swing wing mechanism and everything. I will tell you that if you're not going supersonic, that swing wing is not useful.
So you kind of need that extra lift unless you've got a sure enough jet engine, right?
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's some cool stuff in that hobby. And you know, a lot of people will pick any hobby. People will say, how can you spend that much on this? You know, because I mean, believe me when I tell you, those actual RC turbine jets, those turbines themselves cost thousands of dollars. Those turbines cost more than a lot of our typical lasers. And with that F-14, they got 2 of them in there. I mean, a lot of those bigger jets have tens of thousands of dollars in them. And people go, how can you spend that much money on them? Like, people with their hobbies will pick their budget and they will, you know, it's what brings them joy. And as long as you're being responsible with it, hey, knock yourself out. But
yeah, but one bad maneuver and you just blow a bunch of money.
I've done that. I've done that with I think the most expensive airplane I've lost was about $2,500. I mean, and there were maybe parts you could salvage out of it, but you know, when they crash, they tend to disintegrate and disassemble, or as we call it, re-kit them. But yeah, no, there's some cool stuff out there in that hobby.
Mercy. Jared saying that my wife tried to print on PLA with the Eufy, but said nothing printed. I wasn't present, so maybe used error. Curious which materials you've success printing on. Bamboo A1. So far, I mean, if you're printing black letters on black PLA, it's probably not going to show up. But so far, I've used PETG and PLA in it. I mean, I haven't had any problems with it printing to it. Long term, I don't know how well it's going to stay, but like all this stuff is PETG.
I did that whole video on customizing model train sets, and then 3D printed out some buildings and some signs, and those are all PLA. Now, if it was too glossy, it may have come off, or if it didn't measure it right. The thing you got to remember with the Eufy is that it uses a couple of cross lasers, so they kind of cross in the center, and they use that to measure the height. And if there's like one spot that's too high, it'll take that as the high point. And if it's more than 3-4 millimeter away, you're not going to get a very good print, if anything at all, because it's going to atomize it, and it's going to spray it on there, and then the UV light,
like overspray.
Yeah, it's not going to work too well. So you do want to you can have some variation of height, but you want it to be overall fairly flat and level, and only maybe a 2 to 3 millimeter variation. That can also contribute to some errors. So, but yeah, I've had no problem printing on most of the PLA items. So maybe just check to the process and what was going on, and like I say, if it can't measure the height right, it'll go through the motions, but nothing will actually get laid down.
There's Norbert's got you another glue question.
As a new CO2 newbie, what spares or consumables would you recommend to have on hand? Lenses. You can get spare lenses for most lasers. So this is one for the Omtech Polar Light. You just want to measure that it is the right diameter and then the same focal distance, or you want to play around with different focal lengths, you can. Just make sure it's the right diameter. You may or may not want to have spare mirrors on hand. If you clean them very well and stay up on that, chances are you won't need to do them ever, but you never know when one might get hit with some smoke or vapor, the beam hits it and leaves a mark. It's one of those things that can have you down for a few days. But again, most, like if you're running a Monport and Omtech, whatever, kind of your typical non well, a lot of the modern ones that are kind of all in one, they tend to have more specialty gear, but you get more of that kind of Rita controller cabinet style laser. A lot of them are using fairly standard equipment that you can get from Amazon, you can get from American Photonics. What's the one I always forget about? Cloud Ray. I was wanting to say Sun something, but so yeah, those are the mirrors and the lenses are probably the most important things to have on hand. Now, on my original laser, I did lose one of those inductive sensors, which is basically your limit switches. Again, available on Amazon, but I was down for a couple of days, but I just disabled the homing for that time and went user coordinates. So your wearable items really are things you might want to consider having on hand, and whether you can get them quickly or you want to wait for them, or you just want to have them on hand. Other than that, cleaning supplies, make sure you've got your non-lint, swabs, some as pure alcohol as you can, and being able to maintain your laser. I can't think of too many other things unless it's specific to yours. As for CA glue, it all just kind of depends. I use thick, thin, and medium, even gel, even colored ones. There's actually a rubber-based CA glue for gluing RC car tires onto plastic rims. But generally my go-to is going to be medium. But even different brands someone's medium might be thick or someone's medium might be thin compared to what I'm used to. But for what we do with lasers and 3D printing, medium is usually pretty good, but it is nice having like a gel or a thick for some of those other things. Thin is more of like if you got two pieces of wood that are touching and you want it to soak into the fibers. I don't see a lot of use for thin with, typical stuff. It's more like interlocking joints of like slot and notch, couple of cross pieces that are friction fit that I use that for.
All right. Jared is asking, have you had your hands on the IQ Master yet? I'm getting addicted to making hat patches with the Eufy and need to print and cut. Says, I don't think the We Create 45 watt is compatible with Lightburn. I think it actually is, because I had one, but we won't discuss that though.
I think the We Create is, but I'm just not sure how well their camera. I know there was some early issues with getting that calibrated or connected, I should say. Calibration should be fairly easy, but the IQ Master it sat in customs for a long time, and there may be some shipping damage from being moved around a warehouse for 6 months. So I'm kind of working out some details of no fault of Atom Stack IQ. More so just being stuck in a warehouse and down south for a while. So I have it, but I can't really tell you good, bad, or otherwise with it yet because we're trying to get it working right before that.
It was slightly mistreated.
So, with print and cut, you definitely want to have something that has a decent camera. And some of these lasers have a really shallow camera height. So like the Omtech Polar, it has a camera into it. And if you're using like the center third, it's great. But as you get out to the edges, it's really not that good because you're using a real wide angle lens about 6 inches away from the surface of the material. So getting something that might be a little bit taller, the IQ Master is a little bit taller than some. So might be a little bit better for that. But I would try, if you don't have Lightburn yet, download the trial. I believe We Create has a device file that you can import to get it to work. Look for that on their support site. I would try that first before you go investing in a new laser. Unless you want to add other capabilities, the IKEA Master being a CO2, if you're wanting to do acrylic, yeah, that would be a great upgrade. But if just for doing hat patches, your diode laser should work okay. As long as you can get it calibrated into or connected and calibrated in Lightburn.
Yep. Seth, we both have videos on rotaries. I got multiple videos on rotaries, rotary setups, rotary configuration, tumbler setups. Like if you just go to my videos and type in the word rotary, there's plenty of those. And I'm pretty sure Steve's got a few.
I think my most in-depth one was, well, there's two that I did probably went a little more in depth on. It was the X-Tool RA2 and then the Ortour, well, I forget what they call that thing, the YRR or something.
Yeah.
I went a little more in depth on setting them up and calibrating them there. They are what now, probably 3 years old, but a lot of the information is still relevant because I believe I did both of those mostly in Lightburn. The X-Tool one I probably did in both. Back then it would have been XCS. But yeah, I've got those are the two rotary ones I've done that are more like taking it out of the box and doing it. So
there's a rotary setup. You can probably just skip through to the setup part. It's a different rotary than what you're talking about, but they're all treated the same by Lightburn, regardless of who made the rotary. It's the Lightburn setup is the same. See what else we got. What else?
Ken has a comment about my earlier recommendation. Be careful using accelerator with PLA just because it tends to leave white haze. Yeah, this is true on any material. It's just more noticeable on plastic. So when you're using that accelerator, you're making a fast chemical reaction, and there's off-gassing from that. And actually, the fumes from CA glue are carcinogenic and really bad for you. And so when you use accelerator, they're even worse. So I have accelerator on hand for when I have something that isn't just, I need it to set up fast and it's not doing it right, but I try not to use it. For this is one of the very reasons, but it also, it heats up the glue, so that can cause some problems. And then as it crystallizes and it has that chemical reaction, yeah, it definitely off gases. So especially if you're trying to use it on anything transparent or translucent, it definitely hazes that over. So it's definitely a good tip that
clear acrylic, especially.
Oh yeah. Well, it's a big thing on model airplanes with clear canopies and gluing them on. That's why they have a canopy glue, that it is more rubbery and it dries clear, but it won't haze up the canopy. But it's one of those things where you kind of tape it in place and let it sit overnight. Accelerator is nice, but it also has its drawbacks. So.
Mm-hmm. All right, Bill says, Bill's got a question. It says, okay, I'm dragging my 3D printer feet. Can you print an object in one color and then print something on top of it in a different color? So if I don't know anything about this and you do so, give it up. Well, it depends. But yes, you can. The simple answer is yes, you can. It's all in how you process it in your slicer. Bamboo Studio makes coloring stuff like really, really easy. And I'll try to get it up here and I'll show you real quick. But Bamboo is what I use, and so I don't really know the process that well in any other software. But I can tell you in Bamboo, it is possible. So like, let me see right here. So when you bring something into Bamboo, like I'll go in here and we'll see. Let's just do we'll just do this Christmas ornament because I've been working with that. So if I wanted to take these Christmas ornaments right here, we'll just do one, make it simple. These are my little Christmas ornament blanks that I've made. And so if I wanted to take this guy right here and I wanted to make it, it's set to do it with white PLA, PETG right now. I can add another filament to it. Let's say we'll do orange just so I can see the contrast. So I'm going to add some orange PETG to it, and then you'll go over here and select it, and then you can go to the paint, and you can do it several different ways. You can do a sphere, triangle, height range, feel. Like you can literally just dump paint in there, and it makes the whole thing orange. Or you can do a sphere, and hang on, like the circles. Typically, the way I'll do it is with a height range because I'm doing text, and so you can take this little cursor and set how high you want it to be, but you got to select the color first, and then you can. I hate this mouse, and you can tell it I want this thing to be this color to this particular spot, and paint it like that. So what happens here is when it prints, it's going to print the bottom layers with the orange, and then when it gets up to that certain point right there that you've set, it's going to convert over to the white and print the rest of it in white. Now, when you do that, you're going to have this purge tower, which is going to in Bamboo Studio that it creates. So if it's anything big, you have to be mindful when you start doing this painting that this area of the build plate, unless you specify some other way, is going to be a purge tower. So like if it's something big, you're gonna have to slide it forward. But yeah, you can even like paint it other different like there's other tools. I don't use a lot of the other tools, but you can do. Let's see. Where's the one that's just a brush? Yeah, this is just a brush. So like you can really like just paint it. Now I wouldn't recommend doing that because that's going to be something wild when you slice it. But you can, like if you had like a piece that stuck out, you could literally just like paint that. You could just literally like paint this one little corner right here, and you could be like, I just want this part right here orange, and I want the rest of it white. And now when you slice it, you're going to see that it's going to paint that part's going to be orange, and then the rest of it's going to be white. So yeah, it's it can be done. It's fun, but it can be also a pain. One of the main things that I do that with is what I'll do when I make a design. I'll make the text raise up from the item itself, and then I'll set the color to start at the surface at the top and work its way down into the main item, and that gives me that colored text without having to do a whole bunch of purges and swaps of the filament. Because that'll add a lot of time. You start getting too crazy with the color. If you're running a single head printer, it's going to add a lot of time to your print. So that's where the companies now are starting to come out with these multi-head machines that have 4 or 5 different print heads. That's why it's so that you can swap colors faster than having to go and purge the nozzle and come back and re-inject a different color. And it slows you way down if you don't do it in a manner that is better for your machine, which is why I do the depth on mine. What says you there, Steve? Anything to add? Anything I missed?
No. I've only played around with it, like you say, in the slicer there, and yeah, you just got to be mindful of the build tower and the extra time and the purging it's going to take to do it. So
yeah, this is about the only time that I do it. Is like you can see right there where it says Bigfoot on there. That text is 2 millimeters high. It's 2 millimeters higher than the rest of this entire print, and so it changes color once it gets to there, and then it prints that in orange. So it reduces the number of filament swaps that I've got to do. And it doesn't add a lot. It adds a little, but it doesn't add a lot of extra time to the print job. So that's the extent of my multicolor stuff that I do. Because it's it's so wasteful.
The biggest thing is you got to think about importing the single object and then painting the layers that you want to change the color on. So you wouldn't necessarily run one color and then do a different job to run off of that. It kind of needs to do it all in one job so it knows and stays on track with its layers and such. But the best way to do it is that just that way, like you were saying, is do one color change. So it's not going back and forth when you have it like in set.
Yeah.
Then it changes color every layer, and that takes time and material. So
Yeah, I've tried doing the because I bought some of that early on when I first got into 3D print, and I bought some of that support material. But I can't use it because it like an hour print will take 3 hours because it's having to it changes from your regular filament to your support filament, back to your regular filament, back to your support filament. And every time it does that, it's purging and pooping. And it wastes so much time and so much filament that it's like, you know what, I'm just gonna do PET G. But even doing the contact surfaces with the support material to where it reduces it slightly, I mean, it's still just adds a lot of time to the design. I try to design my designs to where they don't need supports, and then I try to position the item to limit them once I get it into the slicer. But that's things that I've learned playing around.
Oh,
Bill, you can do different things in the slicer. I do most of my design in my STLs. I do them in Fusion. There are tools that you can use Bamboo Studio and do some basic stuff, but it's not the same as doing it with say like Fusion or whatever. I haven't tried doing text with Bamboo Slicer. Have you? I know you can do basic shapes and stuff with it.
well, and you wouldn't necessarily print something out and then go and try to add something onto it later. That would be more of
yeah, no.
you could print something else and then glue it on, but you're going to want to do it kind of in one operation unless you had, well, you'd still have to plan for it. I mean, you could have a recessed plate where you just add the plate in, but again, you're going to glue it later. You're not going to leave it on the printer and then come back. It needs to be kind of sliced into the job and know that it's going to do the operation.
Yeah, no, as far as like putting it down and printing on top of a print, no. No. If that's what you're asking. I thought he meant like go back later and put text on it and print another one. But no, you once it's printed, it's pretty much done once you're over with, because especially with the bamboos, because they're going to do all these different like probe tests and all that, and you can't, like, I will tell you, I did discover today that the P2S, if you send a print job to it and you've for whatever reason left your build plate out of it, it'll tell you that it can't print because it doesn't have a build plate. I learned that by accident today, but I'm glad it caught it because that would have been ugly. Because I took the build plate out and had it sitting over here cooling, and I hit print, and it's like, not doing it.
Oh, I guess I am not as behind on comments as I thought.
No, we staying pretty caught up tonight.
Well, we got a little behind at the beginning, but yeah.
Let's see, here's the text tool.
Jack in the Shop's asking, why are all Bigfoot videos blurry? I'm telling you, because that one was 15 years ago, filmed on a potato.
Yeah. Now, whoever was asking about the text, now, if you do have a design and you want to put text on it, and like say you downloaded my file or Steve's file or somebody else's file, and you want to add text, Bamboo does have a tool that you can add text to it, and like come in here and type it on there, and you can tell it, like, you know, how wide you want the text, and there's a lot of different things you can do. You can tell that you want it like 5 millimeters, 500 millimeters if you choose. But you can add text using this little tool right here. And then once you add it, then you come back and you can paint it. And, well, I said you could. Where did it go? Where did my text go? Where did the text go? What the heck? It's still there. Oh, it's a whole nother. It didn't join them. Oh, okay. Yeah. Apparently, there's a reason why Clack doesn't use that tool because I didn't do something right. Because my text is an actual another object. But I always do it in Fusion. But yeah, you for some reason they're not. Oh, wait a minute, wait a minute. I know what I'm doing wrong. Hang on. I gotta click that. I gotta click that. And I gotta join them. Now it's one item. I remembered. But now I can paint the way I was discussing painting it. So like you can go right here and click. Well, here we go. And there you go. I don't know why they fixed that little thing where you had to chase it. Woo. Anyway, there you go. But you get the idea. My coloring job's not real good.
You never did stay in between lines as a kid, did you?
No, and I usually turn it sideways because it's like I said, that's why I do all that. I do all my text and stuff in Fusion because it's just I've gotten used to it. And if it's something that I designed, especially now, if I didn't design it, then I'm stuck using that tool. But if it's something that I designed, then I'll just go back in Fusion and add the text that way. Because I've gotten to where like I can add decals, I can add SVGs, DSX, DFX, XF files, and all that good stuff. So it just depends on what it is I'm doing. But man, I spend hours and hours trying to figure this stuff out. And it's usually because I'm trying to do something and you hit that wall and you're like, wait a minute, I can't do this. And so then it's just like I binge watch videos and tutorials and stuff until I figure it out.
Yep.
This one's one I'm pretty cool. I'm pretty happy about this one here. Hang on. See, this is my. Let's see, entire screen. See, this one I actually took and even put the logo on it and everything in my design. Yeah, snazzy. And I can go over here under my render tab, and like I tried it in different colors. So yeah, so you can go in like in design. I can actually go in here and change the appearance of it. And so I can go over here, check it to a plastic, like I can do white ABS. And so now when I go into render, it actually looks like when you look at that, it actually looks like that. So it's literally the same thing. Now I did use white ABS because I'm just using that to where it looks white, not because I'm using ABS. But yeah, all that right there recreated that in Fusion, and that's the kind of stuff that I enjoy doing. But I'm still a rookie when it comes to Fusion because as much as I've learned to do in that software, I probably only understand 2% of what this software is capable of doing. Seriously, I mean, it is insane the stuff that you can do. But I love it. Yep. Ken said it's better to not join before you paint, and you can color the entire text, not just the top layer. Well, that depends, Ken, because if you do color the entire thing and part of your color penetrates into the other object, you're going to be doing a bunch of filament swaps. So I do the limited. I only do from the surface of like object one up, and the reason I do that is to eliminate the filament swaps in the print. But if you're not worried about that, then yeah. Like I said, there's several ways.
Santa's Laser Engraving's asking Steve, the multicolor model you showed earlier, I've not tried one on my 85X. Did you get the model already cut, or did you have to cut and color in Orca? So no, these are actually pre-set up, and they actually, if you have a bamboo printer, he has the file with all the plates laid out for you. Otherwise, you can get the just the STLs as well. Well, I'll show this real quick. So this is over on thangs.com. Let's
Thanks.
that out of the way.
Thanks.
So they have some free ones. So if you want to try these out, just check out their free tab, and they have a variety of them. They even have the lunar lander. I'll have to do that one yet. But let's see if they have a preview here. So each plate, come on. Oh, that's the 3D rendering. Each plate is kind of like this, to where all the parts are laid out per color. And then you just print that one out, and then you print out the next one, and then they all they friction fit together. So he has some free models out here, or if you want the premium ones, you become a member, and I think it's like $10 a month gets you 5 models every month. So it's like $2 a model. And for some of this fun stuff like this, I don't mind paying someone for that. But yeah, it's each color is just laid out on each plate for him. You don't have to do any slicing. So this one's pretty easy. It's set up and done for you that way. Other ones, yeah, you might have to pull the parts out and then manually do it. But with these, it's nice that you don't. They're all just ready to go. And what I do is, if I have a work from home day, I'll pick one out, and usually throughout the day, it's enough time to get all the plates printed out between a couple printers going, and then in the evening I get to assemble a fun model. So, and there's other things on that site too. This is just another 3D repository, but it's a lot more kind of higher end subscription based kind of things. But they tend to be, not everything's paid for. Some things are free, but you tend to get some higher quality designs out here. So
you said go to his site and go to where?
Let me just link this. And then
I'm not seeing, you said something about free or whatever. I'm not seeing
so
that.
There's a tab up at the top here. There's there's free, and then there's paid. So you switch it to the free one, and then
that's not showing up like that on mine.
And then you come in here, you just go to the download, and if it's free, it'll let you download it. If it's not free, it'll say, well, here's how you become a member.
Cool. So
fun site, and he brings out new models usually once a month, maybe more. And he's got a whole Discord group if you're into that and want to follow it along.
Cool.
But yeah, it's he has a variety of kind of he hits on like Star Wars, Star Trek, some of the Mario things and whatnot. So it kind of ticks some of my fun from a kid up to an adult, like just sci-fi interests. So
yeah. Gerald Grady says, would your 3D scanner get it pretty close if you had an actual squeegee, or would it take just as much time to recreate it? Well, I actually had the actual one, which is this, but I'm gonna be honest with you, this was not sufficient. That was the whole thing, as I was rebuilding it, making it stronger. And so I just borrowed some of the characteristics and features from this to keep it familiar with him. But I bulked it up, and if I were trying to replicate it exactly, the 3D scanner probably would have been a good way to go about it. But designing it from scratch, and the fact that it was as flat and easy to draw as it was just as quick for me to sketch it out. And it, like, literally, I've gotten to where something like that, I can burn through those things pretty quick as far as doing the sketch and then extruding everything. With that one, I basically built one half of it. Like, I sketched it out and built in half of it and extruded it. And then I made a copy of it, flipped it, and took the two pieces and sandwiched them together and then joined them. So it wasn't like I had to create the whole thing. I just created half of it and then mirrored it and sandwiched them together, and then raised the pieces to where I got the gap for the to grip. I basically took the two halves and raised them up and got them to where they were just far enough apart to hold this, and then fused them together inside the software and made it one object. So it was really quick compared to what I used to could do on that, because used to it would have took me all day to do that. But now I've gotten to where, like, my first prototype was probably within 30 minutes. I had the first prototype printing. So it's a little, it's a little dependent on on how fast you can design too, I guess. Greg wants to know if you've done a clack bobblehead. Don't you dare! I'm planning on doing Miss Steve. I'm gonna be a little Steve to sit over on the dash of my truck and do this when I'm going down the road.
I don't have a clack bobblehead yet, but there's something else I need to resurrect that I was playing with that would be, especially now with the Eufy. Yeah. We'll see. I gotta revisit that.
Yeah.
Billy Powell says, "Thanks, Steve, for sending out my lens order out. I received them in just a few days. Good to hear." Yeah, I try to. I know everybody's used to Amazon, so I try to get them out same day or the next business day. Especially since Etsy is so, man, they are hard on reviews, on shipping times, on communications. I mean, they want you Johnny on the spot on everything. So if you miss those timings and communications or whatnot, they drop you fast in rankings and such. So I do try to stay on top of that. Or if I'm out, my wife tends to do the shipping for me to kind of keep things moving. So glad they got out quickly. And hopefully you don't need to reorder anytime soon.
Yeah, I've gotten, when I first started doing the physical product stuff, I did their recommendation, which was like 3 days, and man, they hold your feet to the fire. So I backed it up. Now I went with I think it's the 5 day. They got two options. I did the 5 day. It's a little more forgiving because I always seem to get a bunch of orders Friday after lunch. I don't know why it is, but it's Friday after lunch, and I'm like, I can't send those until Monday.
Yeah.
Because
the thing that gets me is, so the way I have it set up is I give people the option of choosing their shipping method through postal service. First class gets it there just usually pretty quickly, but if they want to pay for priority, they can. So they're basically just paying whatever the rate is. And Etsy knows based on my zip code and their zip code what that costs, and it calculates actual shipping. And I have on there, my processing time is 2 to 3 business days to ship the item out. There have been times where I've gotten the order at like 10 p.m. and I go the next morning to print out the label, and I get this little warning from Etsy saying, the buyer might expect it sooner than that. I'm like, I couldn't have shipped it any faster.
Yeah.
And so they're very militant about their processing times and customer expectations. So
yeah, like I said, I have managed to stay in their good graces so far, but there's been a couple of times where I was like, life comes up, and like I'm just like, okay, where is a post office near where I've got to go today? And I'll just swing through that post office and ship it from there. Because I used to be bad about getting my shipping labels like the night before or the day or two before. But then one day it was like, okay, I'm going towards Prattville, so I need to drop them at the Billingsley post office instead of the Clanton post office. And so now I'll do them right before I leave. That way I know whether I need to change the ship from zip code or not. Yeah. Because it's in 2 different zip codes.
Well, luckily I don't have to do that. And generally my mail route guy is good to just pick them up same day. And they used to let you just drop them at the counter, but now they have all sorts of signs and like, due to security concerns, you must hand them to a person. I'm like, ugh. So I hate going into the post office when I can just have my carrier pick them up.
Well, I'm fortunate at our post office. The folks that work in there recognize this orange shirt when I come in, and they wave at me and they're like, "Hey, how you doing?" And I'll just lay them on the counter and walk right back out. So I'm fortunate on that because I've been going into the post office about twice a week, dropping off orders now.
I mean, I've been shipping things for quite a while, and the funny thing is like it was a few years ago, and this is before our post office moved from their old historic building to a newer one. There was no signage up, and so I was waiting in line. And granted, this was like holiday season, but I was just being patient, waiting in line so I could hand them off. And I get up there, and it was like the supervisor. It wasn't quite the postmaster, but He's like, you just dropping these off? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you need a receipt? No. He's like, well, the next time you can just drop them over here. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, I'd happily do that if there's anything telling me to. And now they're telling me just the opposite. Don't you dare just drop them right there. You need like,
it depends on who's working.
make up your mind.
Yeah. Now my regular delivery lady told me that, like, she's like, if they'll fit in your mailbox, if you can just get them in the mailbox and raise the flag, I'll grab them and make sure I scan them by the end of the day. Yeah. And so I could start doing that. I've just been, I just haven't done it yet.
And that's all I do. Or you can even go online and request a pickup for certain things as well. So I've done both, but the carrier said, you don't really need to request the pickup. I'll watch from and just, I mean, I've had a whole box of, back in the day when I was sending out those model airplane stands, I'd have a few boxes out there, and I'm like, I just want you to be aware that there might be, it's one thing to have a couple of the thin, lens packages. They're like picking up a couple envelopes for them, but these old, the kits, they were sometimes these larger boxes that, you're not going to be surprised by that.
Yeah.
I try to treat them nice.
Yeah. Not bored says, I got tired of competing with China in Etsy. Finally started using AI to stage my photos. Yeah, I don't do a lot of, the few things that I do physical products are things that people like, I market myself. So, and they're unique things. So I don't stress as much about that. I try to make them, the photos depict best I can, but yeah, I'm not doing like, wood products per se. Most of mine's digital stuff.
Yeah. Anything I do on Etsy has been fairly unique. For the most part, it's not easily replicated. So, but I get that. I mean, Etsy's kind of become a bit of a, and there's even, a lot of people like will buy up stuff from overseas and just like sell them on there. It used to be very much the handmade, the crafter marketplace, and it's gotten a little bit beyond that. So, it's you gotta be mindful of what you put on there, because there's your competition's on there, and if it's something everybody else can do, it's just a race to the bottom. But for digital files and a few other things, it's easier for me because if I was doing a lot of it myself, I'd set up my own e-commerce site like I used to have with my other business. But since it's digital files and this, it's just, I don't mind the cut they take, because generally I'm directing traffic to it anyway, and they take care of all the PCI compliance, all the tax compliance, all that stuff for me.
The tax stuff is the big thing for me, like selling through a website or something. If you don't have that in place, that could get you, one, it's a headache, and two, it could get you in trouble if you're not careful with some of these other cities and states and countries or whatever the case may be. So it's just less headache. I go for the simplest route. I mean, I hear people fuss about, Etsy takes this percentage, but they're paying the sales tax. They're making sure that everything's compliant with all these commerce guidelines and like the California, New York, New Jersey rules of, all these things. They're taking care of that for me. And so it's worth a little extra for that, in my opinion. Let's see, what was the other question I saw? Tony says, how did you orient the scraper when you printed it? It was at like a 30-degree cant. I don't remember. It was sitting in here like something like so. I don't recall. It was like 30. I put it at like 30 degrees so that I had no supports, because I didn't want any supports in this little crack here, but I wanted good, like long lines across here to help support these little junctions on the corners there. So it was sitting in there. I think it's either on this side or that side. It doesn't really matter, but is it like a 30 something? I had to do just enough to keep from having to put, I didn't want any supports inside here, because it would make this kind of hard to clean out. So all my supports, I wound up with one set of supports coming from this little lip, and then the other was just a brim down here at the bottom. And so it just kind of sat there like that with supports. But yeah, sometimes you have to get creative with your how you set things up, because you want to make sure which way your lines go, but you also don't necessarily want supports in places that would be hard to get to. Because I've done that, been there, done that, got the T-shirt. Nothing, especially with this little piece having to pop out like that and pop back in. Supports inside here would be just a pain, because this is supposed to just slide into here, and then you give it a good hard press, and the little blade for the squeegee is in place. So if I had a bunch of supports or the rough edges under supports inside there, it could be a problem.
Cody says he doesn't trust the post office. He scans everything at the self-help kiosk. We don't have anything that cool here.
Yeah, we don't have that.
We had a package drop, but they kind of close that off and make you walk up to see them. So I don't know. Every post office is different, it seems. Here, my actual carrier here has been really great over the years. We had one that was really awesome, but he retired, and then his replacement seems to be pretty good. At the office itself, they're usually friendly. My problem is I always get behind the people that have no clue what they're doing, and I'm literally there just like, I just want to hand these to you and go on my way. But if they only have one or two people there and you're stuck behind someone who's literally bringing in loose items and has no clue what they're doing, you're just like, all right, I'm here for lunch. But unfortunately for smaller things, they're still economical. But once you get above a pound or two, I'm starting to find then UPS, especially through Pirate Ship, their rates are better. Unfortunately, my work is like a quarter mile from the local kind of hub, and they used to have a retail place I could drop off there, but they've closed that down. Now I got to go to the stupid strip mall UPS store that is a pain in the butt to get in and out of, and but yeah, there's definitely some hassles with shipping. But yeah, the postal service with the smaller, lighter ones, I can just drop off with my carrier. That works pretty well for me. And Seth Rosen says, I was told by the post office that the package doesn't bend, can't use first class, only ground advantage. I guess I haven't heard of that. But they only started doing ground advantage the past few years. And most of my lens stuff, they go in the padded envelopes. I do stick a packing peanut in there, because if they're thinner than a certain distance, they go through all the automated machines, and that's when they tend to get ripped up. And so I stick that in there so it's thick enough that they don't send them through those machines. And then I haven't had as many people saying, hey, so I got the envelope with a big hole in it and nothing else.
Well, I've had out of all the Bigfoots that I've shipped, I have one the other day that got destroyed. I don't know what they did to it, but the person that received it sent me a picture, and it was in like 3 pieces. And I was like, my God, I guess it fell out of the car and they ran over it. I don't know what happened to it, but I've shipped a bunch of those things, and I've only had one get damaged. Now, I've had some people at the post office. One of them told me that I couldn't put it in the envelope, like what he was saying, unless it would bend. But then the other guy, the next day, I asked him, and he's like, oh, no, it's fine. It'll go. He's like, we don't put everything through the conveyor. It's only certain things. And I'm like, okay. Well, the other person yesterday told me that I couldn't send it this way because of the machine or whatever. And so I'm like, I'm just going to keep sending them. And like I said, I've only had one so far that got damaged, and it could have literally had a car door slammed on it. I don't know what happened to it, but it's only been, but out of the 3 3D printed pieces inside the envelope, the main base part got destroyed. Like, it seriously looked like a car door got slammed on it or something. Yeah. But I hadn't had too many issues with it so far.
Yeah, that can happen. And then you got to decide as a business owner, how are you going to approach that? Are you going to try to, you can try to do the whole insurance thing, you pay for insurance, but I've heard some nightmare stories on that. Most of those times I just, I try to make sure there's enough margin in there that if 1 out of 50 I have to replace.
And I've decided this. The one that I've had got damaged so far is not worthy of me changing anything that I'm doing. Because it's like, other than a little bit of inconvenience for the customer, which I literally had already been to the post office that day, but when they emailed me and told me what happened, I had another one sitting on go. I turned around, drove back to town to the post office, and dropped it in them to try to get it to them as soon as I could. So, but I've had one out of all of them that I've spent or sent. I've had one get damaged, and that's acceptable. You know what I mean? For me, because I mean, considering the number of miles those things have traveled, and I've only had one get damaged, that's pretty good.
Yep.
And it's just I do shrink wrap them with some cardboard for the two pieces and shrink wrap it, and then I put it in a padded envelope. So that try to combine the strength of all the pieces so that it's a little tougher. But like I said, if you slammed the car door on it or dropped it and rolled a hand truck or something like that across it, it'll break it. And there's no telling what happened. But luckily they sent me a picture and said, hey, mine arrived, but it's in 5 pieces instead of 3. And so I'm like, my bad. I'm sorry. I'm shipping you another one. No cost to you. And I just ate the shipping, sent them. But I did get lucky and only had to send 1 of the 3 pieces. I'm like, are the other 2 pieces okay? And they're like, yes, they're fine. I'm like, okay, well, here comes your main piece.
Yep. Now, if you do ship UPS, they include $100 of coverage in their packages. So, that's something to consider on shipping as well.
But does it take I've never 2 days to get your money? I mean, that's the thing too.
Well, yeah, and I've never done a claim with them, but depending on what the shipment is, there are some times that I'll go, yeah, I'll pay for the extra, just make sure. But it's definitely one of those business decisions you have to make.
Yeah. Which now that I've got my other 3D printer out here, I've got my little office inside the house set up pretty nice with my laser jet printer and all that, just kind of neatly organized. Got like a whole shipping department in there now. Jared, this the little rubbery part, he buys those by the box. He's like, he don't need those. He just needed the holder, the handle for it. But these are, I probably could print those, but I'm gonna be honest with you. He said that these, you don't break these just wear out after a while. But he said he buys them by the box. Just this part handle is what he was having a problem with.
Cool.
Which I'm gonna be honest with you, for doing stickers and stuff, this is a pretty good little squeegee material. Whatever this is made out of, it works pretty good. Like, he done a good job with the window tint with it, because I don't know how he had a CNC. He cut my window tint with a CNC. I was like, dude, I should so take a picture of this. But apparently, window tinting now, you can get this CNC, which is basically just a plotter. It looks like a big cricket. And he went on a computer and said 2023 Ford Explorer, blah, 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 and hit print. And then the machine just like and cut it out. And then he had all the pieces that he needed for the windows, like already cut. Like, he didn't have to measure and guess or nothing like that. I was like, that's one use of a CNC that I had not thought of. But he said he does, like, when he does a house or whatever, they do the same thing. Like, they'll go measure all the windows, and then they'll print the panes, print all the materials, and then just take them to the house and put them up. You don't have to cut a bunch of stuff, which was really neat. Cool. I'd never thought about a window tint CNC.
Cody says he ships any order over 125 UPS and anything under U.S. Postal Service. So, interesting metric.
Yep.
For me, it's more of
does some shipping.
Yeah, I guess for me it depends. If it's more valuable, I might. But it also, I don't know. It used to be, the Postal Service used to have some really good options. They had like their flat rate boxes, and so the smaller ones, I remember that it only cost like $5 to ship them, and they provided the boxes. They were very rigid. You were almost guaranteed that they would get anywhere in the U.S. generally within 2 or 3 days. And that's changed now, but yeah, if it's bigger or a little more valuable, I tend to go towards UPS myself. Used to do some with FedEx, but the local FedEx stuff is changed. Again, I think they shut down their local retail thing, and so now you have to go through, I think, Office Max or something like that, and it's just not as convenient and not as trustworthy. I liked when I can hand it to the actual company and not a third party.
Yeah.
Well, but a lot of the stuff I do, I try to keep small and inexpensive, and then Postal Service, like I say, mail carrier picks it up. I don't have to worry about trips. So
Yeah, I had actually had the FedEx folks come pick a package up here the other day. Of course, luckily she was dropping one off because she couldn't figure out exactly where she was supposed to be picking the package up at. Because I went out there with my hand truck, so I got this, and I'm like, "Hey," flagging her down, and she's like, "Oh, okay, that's where I was supposed to be picking that up at." I'm like, "Yeah. This is it."
Cool.
Because I had a machine that was sent to me that just didn't quite work out. So it went back to its people. Well, it is 9:05, guys. So we've been sitting here talking and running our mouth for quite a while now.
Yep.
Any last minute questions? What's up, Cody? By the way, says he shipped any over. If it's over $125, that's well. I mean, I've placed some orders that were well over 125 with Cody, so I guess that's not really that many bits if you think about it.
Here you go. Burn Carve Prince asking, you watched the video of the X12 F1 F2 during one of your videos. Saw you at an event where there was a quick clip of a gantry laser. Could you please let me know which one it was?
That's probably the A24 Pro that's on my event setup. And that's because it's a small form factor 24 watt that's really quick. I used to have an X-Tool D1 set up on my event machine, but then the A24 came out, and even though the work area is smaller, it will outperform the X-Tool D1 as far as like speed and engraving, white space scan, and all that. It's a really fast machine, and it was fully enclosed, nice looking, put together package. So that's what I ended up putting on my event setup, because I don't do a lot of really big stuff at events, but sometimes I want to do a cutting board or something like that that's too big for the F1. So it's good to have it with me. And I like having a machine that is visible, and I'll just be cutting out like keychains or something, just having the machine run at an event so that people can see it moving, and it gets their curiosity, and they walk up to the table. And once they walk up to the table, now they're kind of committed to talk to you. And then, that leads into, hey, how much is this, bottle opener or this, whatever. And so I end up making a little bit of a sale off of it. So it's kind of twofold. It's a cool looking, interesting looking machine, and it's small but portable and powerful enough to do what I do at events. So it's the A24 Pro. I think, Steve, you've got one as well. You still got yours?
I've got mine, and I've got it on that board we built when I was down at your place a few years ago. But I'll be honest, the Creality A1 Pro, the 20-watt version, I could see that being a good alternative to the A24. It doesn't quite have the same visibility because it has the solid sides in the back, whereas the A24 is kind of like, you can see it from all sides. But I think it's maybe a little bit quieter, probably a little bit lighter and more self-contained overall. But yeah, either one of them is a good, like you say, you're not doing large items. They both have kind of a smaller footprint, but big enough that you could do some things if you needed to, or as you say, just have it running to kind of draw the crowd in. So
yeah, I'm really looking at this coming Peach Jam, maybe even taking the A1 and just setting it on my like on a table at my booth, and just setting it up there doing benches or something. Or another thing that I've started doing is like just making some little Clack Shack coins, just something just to have the machine running. Because if I can get the kids to bring mom and daddy over to the booth, then they might spend a little bit of money. And so this year, the Clack Shack booth may be doing lasers, 3D printing, and UV printing all at one booth. I just got to figure out how that's going to all work together on my little wooden table that I built. Because I can't find any real drawbacks to transporting the Eufy as long as I don't drop it or throw it anywhere. I don't see anything that it would.
Don't tip it over.
Yeah, I'm gonna secure it in the back seat of my truck. It's not riding in the trailer just in case. But I don't see any major tripping hazards as far as transporting it to and from. So I'm thinking I may take it with just a small bed, because I don't want to take the big bed and have it open. I want it closed. But I'm thinking I may take the small bed with me and do some just small things at Peach Jam. Like okay, say you want a picture of your kid for a refrigerator magnet, $15. Email me the picture to this email address. Come back in 10 minutes and it'll be ready. You know. So I think that's a route that we're going to go for Peach Jam. Klein was over here today. I was showing him what it does, and he's trying to talk me into doing another event that I don't normally do. But I was like, it would be a good dress rehearsal to test the machine without the major crowds because it's a smaller event. So I may try to do that. We'll see. Santa, I've got a whisper quiet generator that I use, as well as my event table has a battery backup built into it. Plus, I have the Afiri 1800 watt battery backup with solar panels. So I've got plenty of options to power it. That's not a concern for me. My little generator is a 2000 watt, but it's really, really quiet. And I've used it every Peach Jam I've done so far, and it works great.
Jared Grady says he saw Kim and Garrett had there's an event on their YouTube and heat was a problem.
I mean, I guess it could be. I don't know. Like I said, that's gonna be some of the things that I got to check.
I've run into the opposite problem up here.
Yeah. Too cold.
When I first got it, it was cooler because I remember I was out here and I unboxed it out here and I was messing around with it and it said nope, too cold. And so the ambient air plus the machine itself wanted to be at like 50 degrees Fahrenheit or something like that before it would do anything. Yeah. So I haven't run into the opposite end because it's basically lives in my basement, fairly climate controlled down there, and so it never overheats. But yeah, I'd have to look to see what the operating temperatures are for it.
Yeah. Interesting. Seth, I've got the QR codes all over my table to my website, and all that's the message, the payment, the pictures, the move, all that's on my website. But yeah,
you could probably do it to where there was a link to just like a photo drop kind of thing.
Dropbox.
Yeah. So
yeah. But you don't get that email address for marketing if you do it that way. You got to build that email database, man.
Well, yeah, but then you got to tell them you might be using that for that.
But no, like I said, I've got to figure out how it's going to look. But I think I'm going to incorporate that into the next few events that I do. The 3D printing maybe, but the UV printer I know I'm going to take with me for sure. I gotta get the bugs worked out of the system. All right, so it's 2:13. Anybody got any more questions, comments, concerns? Anything? Well, do you have anything coming this week before we log out?
I don't know. We're rapidly approaching end of semester, so main job is kind of taking over stuff. But I'll be working with the LaserPecker LX2. Be doing a little bit of stuff with the Eufy as I get around with it. I did get, this is something new. I was sent an updated calibration and software file for the ConMarker Omni X. So once I can get that back on the bench, we'll see if they've fixed our problem. But I don't know. I don't know when I'll get to that. It might be later in the week. So, but priority is probably going to be working on this one to get that kind of done and out of the way. So probably be seeing a lot of posts and preview stuff on my Facebook page about that one, and we'll work in some other stuff as we go.
Jeffrey, if I didn't see it, but if you put some question marks or something or post it, if you're saying we overlooked your comment, then throw some question marks or something on there so it catches our attention, because a lot of times they get lost in the. Okay, there we go. I don't know where you saw that. I hadn't seen that one. A pin engraving kit for the Rolly 21. Talking about like a jig system or something? Or are we doing rotary or are we doing flat? I have a item file for pins, but pins are pretty easy. It's basically a square with a cutout for the top. But yeah, I have a couple of videos. If you go to my videos and just search for the word pin, there's 2 or 3 different videos in there where I've done pins with a CO2, a diode, probably a fiber, because I do lots of different ones. So there, if you just search the keyword pin in my videos, and there'll be some in there. But making your own little jig with any stuff, it's once you understand the process, it's not complicated. I do sell like some item files and stuff for specific things, but not all pins are going to be the same. So what I've got may or may not work with what you're trying to do. I do have some maple ink pens and maple ink pen holders that I bought for a job that I'm doing for one of the local schools. And I bought some extras, of course, so that I can test and everything. So I'm probably going to do the extra, the testing and all, and make a video out of that in preparation for the job. Even though I can't show you the ones I'm doing for the job, I can show you the prep work. So got that coming, and we'll get to that. But not in so many words, but yes, kind of. D Wolf Dragon, are you going to do any live training? We do lots of different lives. We do a lot of videos, walkthroughs. Me and Steve both. We do projects where basically we just bring you along and walk you through the process, and of doing different jobs. As far as live trainings, training's kind of a loose word. It depends on what your definition of training is, but we do share with you guys a lot of different project videos, and some of them are lives, some of them are not. I know me and Steve both have done some live project jobs. So just keep looking for those. But if you're looking for a specific topic, do the search inside our videos, and you'd be surprised how much stuff's in there. Some of the videos are older than others, but they work out really well. Eileen says, have you checked out Maker Lab? I've saw it, but that's about the extent of it.
Yeah, that's Bamboo's. It's kind of an addition to their Maker World, so they have some tools on there. I know they have like a light box generator. I would play around with that at one point. I should go back and do some more of it, but they have some cool things on there to make some customized things. I think they even have like a 3D, like take your photos and make a 3D model kind of thing. So some fun stuff there to play around with it.
Yeah, I haven't done it yet. D Wolf says more of like a camp, a hands-on. Not particularly. That's not really in the cards for me right now. I don't think it is for Steve either, but
it would be fun to do something like that, but the logistics of finding a space, and the equipment and whatnot, to make it viable and worth everybody's time and whatnot could be interesting. I think you'd have to like partner with like a makerspace that has some or something, or I don't know. But yeah, I know.
Or have it be a virtual. That would be kind of challenging.
Yeah, but yeah, I think if you're trying to do like live in person stuff, which so our local makerspace they have an Atom Stack P2, and I know they offer some introductory trainings on them. I don't know how. I think they maybe limit it to like 6 people at a time or something like that, so that you can kind of get through a project in an evening. But
yeah. The Grim Developer has a question. Says, for those of us use it without a UV make, do you see any reason why I couldn't apply a UV 3D printing resin to an item and activate it with? Yeah, that sounds like a science experiment.
yeah, wear gloves. Don't spill. I mean, that's the thing to be mindful of. Going back to talking about the cleaning solution, that is a bit corrosive. and it's not something you want to handle. You want to get your hands on it, and then the resin itself is not great to get on your hands and your fingers, the uncured stuff. So again, that's why Eufy and X-Tool and others are going with a closed ink infrastructure, from the safety aspect. Could you do that? I think you could. I'm not sure how the result would be. Be interesting to. I don't know. The fact that the ink is kind of not great, it's kind of like, mercury. It's cool, but you really don't want to play with it. That'd be an interesting experiment to see what the effect would be. Like how deep can you go and still actually cure it? With a UV laser, things like that. But
yeah, because I don't know that the laser would penetrate through it, because as it penetrated through it, it would cure it. So it would be, it's kind of a catch-22. It had to be thin layers. I think that's how this is working with the Eufy, is it's really thin layers. All right, guys, ladies, fellas, everybody. I guess that's going to do it for tonight. Like I said, I've got some stuff coming. I haven't quit. Trust me, I have been working my rear end off. It is spring here. I also am working on getting my other channel built up, which I've got to do videos for it as well. And shameless plug here. If you haven't already found the channel and hadn't checked it out, if it's not your cup of tea, I understand. That's fine. But I do some pretty interesting things from time to time over there on the other channel. And the name of it is, of course, The Claycleys. It's more or less my home family channel, gardening, beekeeping, anything that is not makers exactly. Now I've got the robot lawnmowers over there, doorbells, cameras, like home automation, just around the house stuff. So if you haven't found the channel and, sounds like something you might be interested in, feel free to go over and give it a ride. There's not a lot of content there yet because I have been busy. I'm slowly getting more and more over there and working it to where hopefully I'll be able to have about equal presence in both channels. Like, maybe 1 or 2 videos per week for each, counting the live. Like maybe a video and a live here and a video or 2 over there every week. That's the goal. That's where we're trying to get to. So if you haven't checked it out, go check it out, please. I could use a few more watch hours. Watch hours are kicking my butt over there. I still need a few more. So if you want to go watch some videos, just go watch them. Or you can just let them play. It doesn't matter. It's all the same. What else you got, Steve? How about Steve's Wild Outdoors, or what I like to call it, the Bigfoot in the Woods channel? How's that going?
Nothing there yet.
But Steve's got another channel to go into. He's not going to tell you about it yet because he doesn't have a lot over there. But y'all just stay tuned. Watch out for Ventori's Outdoors.
Yep.
Till next time, guys. We'll see you.
We'll see you.
And let's play that. Let's play this exit. I like the exit music much better.